In the future, artificial intelligence will have a profound impact on how we make decisions in every aspect of our lives, especially combined with the new era of radical transparency about people that's already upon us. Right now, whether you like it or not, it is easy for anyone to access your digital data to learn a tremendous amount about what you're like. And this data can be fed into computers that do everything from predict what you're likely to buy to what you value in life. And as per usual, it's the beginning of a new week, and that means that we're going to be doing some more reading of Ray Dalio Principles. So we have already gotten quite a distance through this, and we are up to a section called Systemized and Computerized Decision Making. And we're in the part of the chapter called Convert Your Principles into Algorithms and have the computer make decisions alongside you. And we spoke about why it's important to do it together with the computer and not just rely only on the computer. So it's great to have you all here. It is wonderful to start a new week. Lots of amazing things that we're going to be able to go out and achieve. Let's just move the computer over a little bit so that I've got a bit more room for the book. And let's get into it. And Sonia Dubois says, yay. Mustafa, who's joined us many times, is with us as well. Great to have you all. And let's get started to get a motivated and amazing start to the day. In the future, artificial intelligence will have a profound impact on how we make decisions in every aspect of our lives, especially combined with the new era of radical transparency about people that's already upon us. Right now, whether you like it or not, it is easy for anyone to access your digital data to learn a tremendous amount about what you're like. And this data can be fed into computers that do everything from predict what you're likely to buy to what you value in life. While this sounds scary to many people, at Bridgewater, we have been combining radical transparency with algorithmic decision making for more than 30 years, and have found that it produces remarkable results. In fact, I believe that it won't be long before this kind of computerized decision-making guides us nearly as much as our brains do now. So the interesting thing is that we absolutely live in a time where there is so much data available around us. And some of us are really afraid of that, and some of us see it as an opportunity and embrace it. There's a famous story of a lady who... Well, her father, actually, it was her father who sued Kmart, I think it was, over in the US. She had been making purchases, and all of a sudden she started getting advertisements that were directed towards her for baby products. And her father said, why on earth are you sending her baby products information? Because she's not pregnant. But what they didn't know was that she actually was pregnant. The girl didn't know, the father didn't know. But what happened was that the computer algorithm had looked at what kind of purchases she was making. It was having a look at what changes were happening. So I think she changed from a more harmful to a less harmful deodorant. She was starting to do all these different things. And the computer algorithm recognized that people who make these changes tend to potentially be pregnant. And so it started to send her information about baby products before she even knew herself that she was pregnant. So regardless of whether you're afraid of it or not, there is already so much technology that understands us and knows a lot about what is going on for us. So it's just something that we need to take into consideration when we are doing our investing and other things. And like we spoke about last time, it's not about letting the computer take over. It's about working together with the computer. So the computer is much quicker at doing calculations. So we let the computer do the calculations. Then we can have a look at the different options and we can decide what it is that we want to invest in, what it is that we want to choose to do, who we're going to hire, all of those different things. But we want to do it in conjunction with, because if we are going to be making the decisions ourselves, it will be purely logic. And as humans, our logic will fail us so many times, all the time, because we are going to think in terms of emotion and logic, and we won't make the best decisions. But if we let the computer do the numbers, and then we separate out the things that are going to make an ethical sense to us. So for example, let's say that I have the computer do numbers, and it comes up with all of the best companies to buy. Then there might be a tobacco company in there, and you might be against tobacco. There might be an environmentally polluting company in there. And if you're against that, then we can use the human brain to eliminate the ones that we don't want to invest in. We can say we want to invest in all of them because we don't really care. Or we can say, no, we want to invest in the ones that we feel good about. But first, we want to let the computer make the decision so that we can find the most economically viable options. And then from that, we can choose whether we decide to go into it or not, if it is against our principles or not. Speaking of principles, that is obviously what we're reading. So lots of amazing people joining on. The Big Go Young God has joined us. Sebastian with an SUB and Markida. Nice to meet all of you. Great to see you all. And a couple of new people, Peter, CH Azam, Boz, and Yav have also joined. Great to have you all. Okay, so let's continue. The concept of artificial intelligence is not new. Even back in the 1970s, when I first started experimenting with computerized decision-making, it had already been for nearly 20 years. The term artificial intelligence was first introduced in 1956 at a conference at Dartmouth College. While a lot has changed since then, the basic concept remains the same. To give you just one ultra-simple example of how computerized decision-making works, let's say you have two principles for heating your home. You want to turn the heat on when the temperature falls below 68, and you want to turn the heat off between midnight and 5 a.m. You can express the relationship between these two criteria in a simple decision-making formula. If the temperature is less than 68 degrees and the time is not between 5 a.m. and midnight, then turn on the heat. By gathering many such formulas, it's possible to create a decision-making system that takes in data, applies and weighs the relevant criteria, and recommends a decision. And this is the brilliance of what computers can do for us. We want to see it as an extension of what we can do and not replace us, obviously. But a perfect example of this is a system that I came up with where I said, okay, I want to have my money come in, and then I want 20% to go to this. I want 30% to go to that. I want a certain percentage to go to something else. This is a system, and it allows you to be able to make sure that there is money for yourself. It allows you to make sure that there is money for your investments and all of the expenses that you need to make. So if the number ends up being too small, you need to increase your income rather than, because I'm not a very big fan of reducing your expenses unless you really have to. You want to increase your income, not reduce your expenses. Reducing your expenses, especially, for example, for a business owner, is really detrimental. For a person, it's going to make you feel as if you are not achieving enough, and it's going to send you into a negative spiral of thinking. Your mindset is not going to be as good. For a business, when things are not going so well, that's when you really need to start putting money into advertising and marketing and different other things, because you want to make sure that people don't see you spending less, whereby it looks like the business isn't doing so well, and then people are more likely to go somewhere else because they think, oh, that place just isn't doing so well. I don't feel the right vibe. I'm a bit worried about what is going on for them. So we want to set up these kinds of systems so that we are focused on where the money needs to go. Systems really work in every circumstance. So I remember when I was younger and I went to a bank and I said, is it possible for me to be able to have my income come in and then it get distributed to these different bank accounts so that I then know how much I have to spend on this, how much I have to spend on that, how much I have to spend on something else. So I would always take, when I had the cafe, back in my cafe days, I would always have the income come in, and then I'd say, okay, I allocate 35% to staff costs because staff costs are going to be quite high. I want to make sure that I'm spending at least 25% on marketing. I need to pay my suppliers, which I want to cap it at this amount of money. So that way I know that the money comes in and this is my allocated budget for the week after. If the income isn't high enough, we want to then start working on how can we improve the marketing so that more people know about us and more people are going to buy from us. How can we improve the service? which we might be able to do without having to spend any money on it. So how can we improve the service so that more people get excited about what we're doing, so that they spread the word and more people come to the cafe? So we want to always look at lots of different things in terms of systems. Very often as humans, what we do is we are meant to look for systems. And this is how the body works. This is how nature works. This is how everything works. It follows, if this happens, then that. If this happens, then that. Now, sometimes we get into bad habits, and we'll get into, if this happens, then we respond with something that isn't good. So for example, it's 5 o'clock. The workday is almost over. I am feeling like a sugar rush, and then I go out and buy something that's not so good. So we want to replace that with a better system. So it might be, I'm feeling a little bit of a sweet tooth. I'm going to go out and get something that is maybe a sesame snack, which is going to be honey instead of refined sugar. So it's going to be better than the cookie or whatever it is that I would otherwise be buying. So we want to always be looking for these kinds of systems. Specifying our investment decision-making criteria in algorithms and running historical data through them, or specifying our work principles and algorithms and using them to aid in management decision-making, are just bigger and more complicated versions of that smart thermostat. They allow us to make more informed and less emotional decisions much faster than we could on our own. I believe that people will increasingly do this, and that computer coding will become as essential as writing. In time, we'll use machine assistants as much for decision-making as we do for information gathering today. As these machines help us, they will learn about what we are like, what we value, what our strengths and weaknesses are, and they will be able to tailor the advice they give us by automatically seeking out the help of others who are strong where we are weak. It won't be long before our machine assistants are speaking to other machine assistants and collaborating in this way. In fact, that's beginning to happen already. And it's interesting because today's Google Doodle was about Antonio. Let me just double check. I think it was Antonio Morel. I'll have to double check the name. But by teaching it, I'm going to remember it. So that's good. So it was about this Italian man who invented the espresso machine. And he bought a cafe, and he realized that it took about 5 minutes. Everybody had to wait about 5 minutes for their cup of coffee. Coffee was all the rage. It was really popular. Everybody loved it, but everybody had to wait a long time. And he decided that if he was able to make an espresso more quickly, if he was able to make coffee more quickly, then he would have a competitive advantage over all the other cafes that were around in his area. So he sat down, and his family was into inventing, and he invented the espresso machine. And he invented that in 1884, I believe. Just going off the top of my head, I only saw the doodle very, very quickly. But he invented the espresso machine, and he was able to obviously create a huge competitive advantage for himself. And the same applies in our lives as well. So throughout history, technology has gotten better, and we can continue doing things the old way, or we can go along with technology and use that to our advantage. For example, there is a great investor that I always love to look at. His name is Jim Simons. And Jim Simons created an algorithm that was able to create some really amazing results. The system would automatically find the stocks and invest in those stocks. And it was set up in a way that was brilliant. Jim Simons was a mathematician. He's one of the only mathematicians to ever become a billionaire. And it's because of those algorithms that he was able to do it. The same software is also used by baseball teams to choose who to draft and who not to draft, and also how to create certain plays and different other things. So these algorithms are extremely powerful. So if you want to be able to achieve amazing results, you really need to be able to stay up with the technology and make sure that you are able to set up a life that you understand what it is that you want to achieve, and set up systems for machines to be able to help you, because our brains are just too slow by themselves. We really need the machines to be able to do that. And very quickly, Young God has rejoined us. Bilal has joined. G. Molly, thank you for the hearts. Great to have you as well. Zirko, Tiki L, Lots of amazing people have been joining. Wow, lots and lots. Jonathan Rosenbaum, thank you for the hearts as well. Lots and lots of you this morning. Everybody getting ready for an amazing start to the week. Let's continue a little bit more before we have to start going, but we've had some really good depth in some of the ideas that have been coming up from principles that we are reading together right now. Imagine a world in which you can use technology to connect to a system in which you can input the issues you're dealing with and have exchanges about what you should do and why with the highest rated thinkers in the world. You'll soon be able to do this. Before too long, you will be able to tap the highest quality thinking on nearly every issue you face and get the guidance of a computerized system that weighs different points of view. For example, you will be able to ask what lifestyle or career you should choose, given what you're like, or how to best interact with specific people based on what they're like. These innovations will help people get out of their own heads and unlock an incredibly powerful form of collective thinking. We are doing this now and have found it way better than traditional thinking. In the Netherlands, when I was very young, and even before that, they used to do tests with students to see what they were good at. They would test students to see whether they liked building things, whether they were more into numbers, whether they were more into drawing. And they used to use that to then decide what kind of school route they would take. Now, unfortunately, people change. And a lot of students who were good at something when they were younger, but then got bored by it, spoken to a lot of people recently who talked about the fact that they were into one thing when they were really young, and then they kept looking around and seeing other things, and they got interested in other things as well and found out that they enjoyed it more than the first thing. So unfortunately, that system didn't work in the Netherlands, but times have changed, and now you're able to test on a more regular basis, and you're able to find out what kinds of things really interest you and how your preferences change over time. But I do stress that we want to make sure that it stays a decision-making tool, but the ultimate decision needs to come from the human brain. We still have the most miraculous brain in the world, and it is so much better than any computer that I believe will ever be invented. However, the thing that I really want to make sure that I impress on you today is that it is really important to understand what your goals are and to understand how you want to get there. And then you can use computers and algorithms and different other things to be able to help you to get there, to speed up the process, just like the espresso machine was able to speed up the process of people being able to get coffee. Now, we're not going to be able to get around technology. We're not going to be able to get around all of these different things, because if we continue doing things the way we always have, there are a lot of industries where people are no longer needed. There are a lot of different things that are happening that prevent us from being able to do things the way that we may have done so in the past. So we really need to move along with technology, but we need to use it in the smartest way possible. So if we can do that, if we can figure out what our goals are and how we want to get there and use technology to help us get there, we can speed up the process, and we can also look to innovate. So I have been working on a couple of things that are going to allow the computer to help me make decisions more easily. So this is based on some of the investing that I've been doing. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I love sitting down and working on it. Now, if you are not the type of person that likes sitting down with spreadsheets or who likes to code or do things like this, then you need to find somebody who does. And so find people who can support you around it. Make sure that you understand the business principles so you can work with them in the best way possible. And then make sure that you are moving forward towards your goals and tweak and adjust where necessary. And you'll start to find that you're going to get some better results than you may have been previous to that. Okay, so we're going to have to leave it at that till next time. We're going to continue on. We haven't even finished that chapter, which is interesting. We'll have to see how we go. This is a long section, but that is completely okay. We will probably be able to finish it tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll continue talking about systemized and computerized decision making and how to use technology to our advantage and not let it use and abuse us, because obviously that would not be good. So I'm looking forward to continuing Principles by Ray Dalio tomorrow. If you enjoyed this, you can watch the replays on YouTube, The Passive Cash Flow Club. Make sure you subscribe because we also have the answers to your questions. If you have questions, if you are uncertain of something that we discussed, if you'd like to start a discussion about something, if you'd like to be able to ask questions on any other topic related to the economy or passive income, wealth creation, all of those different kinds of things, feel free to reach out on Instagram. You can find us at business_team_6_official. Would love to get to know more of you. There are always so many amazing people who are joining. And it's one thing for me to just talk to you through the technology, but it would also be great to have an actual brain-to-brain conversation with you as well. We'll have to use the technology if you're further away, but obviously I would love to be able to connect on a more intimate level. Not the word I was looking for, but it was the only one I could come up with. So make sure you reach out, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because it might be one of your questions that we answer. And if you're interested in our games nights, our simulations, online, offline events, networking, all sorts of different things that we run, feel free to reach out and we can get you the information on when the next ones are happening. Have an absolutely amazing day today. I'm going to stop the recording and quickly go and say hello to everybody that joined on Bigo. And I am looking forward to another reading with you tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Remember to make the switch to unlock your rich because there is a shortcut and a more efficient way to doing absolutely everything. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow where we're going to assist you to do more of exactly that. Okay, have a great day and I'll see you all tomorrow.